All right, first of all, thank you all for coming out here at my request to be able to talk to you all a little bit more related to the triple homicide we had on the 16th. I want to start with this. The focal point today is giving you guys as clear as facts about what's happening, because I've already seen different stories come out. There's dialogue that this was an active shooter event and 7 people are suspended for active shooter failures. That's not the case. This was a domestic violence incident that happened to turn catastrophically bad, where an individual killed his wife and 2 individuals. In the process of looking at this internal affairs, in the process of looking at the homicide, we end up opening up an internal affairs investigations to identify any shortcomings that may have occurred in the investigative process from the patrol standpoint and within the Detective Bureau assigned out in Tamarack. And that's why we're here. We're here to give you some clarity. For many of you in the room, you've been with me in this room for the last 6 years, and if you think back to 2019, one of the things I told this community was that when I know, they will know, and that this agency will remain a transparent and accountable organization, not just when we're doing things great, but when we come up short. And I'm going to start with that. It is clear, based on the preliminary information I've been able to acquire so far from our investigators within the Office of Inspector General and Internal Affairs, we fell short on this one. We fell short in a response in terms of how some of the patrol personnel had documented certain facts related to calls going back to December. It's clear that some of the investigative practices conducted by detectives was also a shortfall. And so as we're continuing to gather more facts on this, I'm going to end up back in front of this camera. Make no mistake about it. Because I want to make sure this community continues to trust us and know that when we get this stuff wrong, people are going to be held accountable, and I'm going to step up and own every bit of it. So that's where we are at with this. Currently, there are 7 members, 7 total, that had some involvement with this investigation that are out on suspension right now on administrative leave until we can come to a final course of action in terms of this investigation. 1 is a lieutenant, 2 sergeants, and 4 deputies. Again, that's 1 lieutenant, 2 sergeants, 4 deputies. If you need names and things of that nature, you can get that from Vita after the conference. This is as short as I can get, and I'll roll over, and I think it's probably going to be more appropriate to take a few questions if I can. Keep in mind, I cannot disclose or start talking about the homicide investigation, and there's minimum things that I can present in terms of the internal affairs. We'll start here.
Sheriff, we have been told that Mary Gingle sought help from the Tamarack unit and that little was offered. How do you respond to that?
I think that is an accurate assessment and that we could have done more from what I've been able to analyze. I'll start with some of the first things that I've been able to witness and look at. From the original call for service that occurred back in October, because we're going way back, folks. We're not just looking at isolated incidents. We have a robust list of all the calls for services that occurred at that site location, either coming from the husband or coming from the wife or any other member that had any concern. What I witnessed in October, the first call that came out was related to a tracker. I saw some of your stories. You're accurate in that assessment. It's clear that we probably could have done more in that element, and that's what we're looking at in terms of what the deputies' responsibilities were at that time. These aren't shortcomings of policies, procedures, training, or equipment. For my assessment, this is really just a shortcoming of performance, whether it be complacency, not taking a greater interest, and not doing their due diligence to make sure that they're documenting everything in an accurate manner so that when it does arrive in the investigator's hand, they have a comprehensive report that will allow them to make better judgment and decisions. That's one start. The second aspect is the call in December that we had where a deputy went out to the scene and spent 35 minutes and 34 seconds, because I watched every bit of it on a body-worn camera, assessing and talking to the victim, talking to Mary, gathering information from her. And it was very robust in terms of the threat spectrum that exists, the totality of times that she had made related to, I fear that he's going to kill me, etc. And at that time, based on the evidence and things that were presented, there was enough there where we could have potentially pursued a probable cause affidavit so we can arrest him and take him off the street. And that didn't happen. We know that. The other elements that I'll be able to talk a little bit about is when this case finally made it to the assigned detective in the district. We're looking at that. There has been a multitude of shortcomings from my perspective that I know from being an investigator, having worked cases where things could have been done a lot better and they were not done. And so that's why I prompted and called for this internal affairs investigation, because on the surface, just seeing some of the things we found in the first couple hours, remember 24 hours, we were already looking into this. It was clear that no, we're going to have to address this one. We're going to have to come to the public and let them know what the hell happened.